Hey there, we just wanted to let you know that there may be some content in here with some colorful language or off-color topics, and we wanted to let you know ahead of time, so please listen at your own discretion. You guys want to share your feelings?
No.
I don't have much of those these days.
I want to talk about Sasquatch.
And how he's real?
And how he tried to suck my dick and eat my butt out.
Ready?
Could you? I'm ready, brother. Let's do it.
And welcome to the Anabasis Podcast number 4. And today we have me, I'm AJ, and
Dave.
And
Dylan.
Hey, he's back. And
let's do this.
Before we talk about literally whatever we want, because who plans anything, we want to let you know that if you haven't heard the band and you're listening to this, we're confused, but we want you to listen to the band. We
Correct.
can be found
please
on
listen to us.
Spotify, Apple Music, our own Bandcamp at anabasismetal.bandcamp.com. And the good old YouTube. Listen to the music, watch the videos, subscribe to our YouTube if you would be so kind. That would help us out immensely. And assumedly, you can do that pretty easy because you might be watching this on YouTube.
Yes, youtube.com/Anabasis.
Yeah, that's new for us. We're really excited about that.
Yep.
And lastly, well, 2 more things. I lied. I'm sorry. Merch at our Bandcamp. You can get t-shirts, hats. We have some pretty cool stuff there left over from doing a bunch of shows. And also Patreon, if you want to check that out. We're going to have a little bit more of our behind-the-scenes content on there and some other cool things you can check out that we don't put out just everywhere. We're trying to kind of gear that so you can see more of the process on how we write songs and do just kind of day-to-day interaction. A little bit less produced, but a little more behind-the-scenes insight for you. So if you'd be so kind as to check that out, consider contributing to that. We would greatly appreciate that. And with that said, what do you guys want to talk about?
What's up, guys?
Hi.
Hey.
We're here. Let's do it.
We have some adult beverages today.
Yep, we all do. Oh, come on. You can get it.
Mandatory.
Oh, there it is.
So
67 times the charm.
Yeah, man.
Man, the holidays are coming up, huh?
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
You guys all do your Christmas shopping?
No.
I don't do that.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
no, yeah. We're square, dude. Everything's all set.
Yeah.
It's only a couple weeks out.
This
now,
is actually
right?
my first year where it's all been done 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Like, it's all bought.
Word.
It's all wrapped up.
I
And
think
it
we're
feels
ready to
damn
go,
good.
too.
Well, you've got like siblings and stuff, and you've got like a lot of family. So do you shop for them too? And
Yeah, it's tough. So I've got my mother, I've got my father, and then I've got my sister's father. You call it my stepdad, but, you know, they're divorced, my mother and him, so it's like ex-stepfather. It's really confusing. But yeah. it's
Shit
basically
happens, big
3
family.
sides. It's
Yeah,
3
yep,
families.
yep.
And I don't get everything for everybody, but I get for my sisters, my mother, my father, and my ex-stepdad, who may be my stepdad, but I think it's ex. We'll rock with X. Yep.
Yeah.
why are you trying to put labels on it?
Me and Stace just get stuff for like immediate family, nieces and nephews and stuff. It's about it.
Yeah. I
Don't
just,
go crazy. Get her parents something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Get my mom something.
It's just hard because, you know, we're up here in the Northeast, but I mean, today it's like what, less than 2 weeks to Christmas, and it's like 45 and like just raining. And
Yep. And
it's just
yesterday
mud.
it was like 22 and snowing, and then the day before that it was like 52.
There's just
and
no
everything
consistency.
melted.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true.
It's just hard to get, for me, it's harder to get in the holiday spirit. There's like, there's that one perfect moment, and I as far as like the holidays go, you know that movie A Christmas Story, obviously everybody's seen it. It's on like 24/7 for Christmas on whatever the hell cable channel. I don't have cable.
I mean, they used to do 24 hours of Christmas Story on FX. And
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say our climate is like that movie Turbulence.
What the fuck?
not even
down.
close. No. What I was gonna say is at the end of that movie, and most people don't remember the end of that movie because they watched part of it and then the kids scream and then you like pass out from eating a bunch of ham or whatever you do on Christmas.
Yeah.
But at the very end, like one of the last shots is like it's nighttime and they're looking out the window and it's like snowing, but it's a light snow and it's like really pretty and like frosted over. That's what I look for in like the holidays. So like if you get that on Christmas or sometime around then when you're like with your family and you're just relaxed and you don't have any like outside obligations, like that to me is what the holidays are about now. Because you know when we're a little younger, you're a teenager or whatever, maybe you're into just trends or fads or like material stuff, or you go Black Friday shopping. And now I'm just like, I'm so far beyond that mindset. It's just, it doesn't appeal to me anymore.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I don't know. Christmas is cool. Holidays are cool in general, but Halloween's the best.
Oh, for sure.
That's the most fun.
I will say though, we did one piece of Black Friday shopping.
Jesus.
And we did, so you know how nobody respects Thanksgiving anymore?
Yeah.
And like,
fuck Thanksgiving.
It's a terrible holiday.
Yeah, big deal.
And all that stuff.
Fuck
but
'em.
now like the businesses open at like 6 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So like
on the day.
Yeah. So we went to
I wonder what that holiday's about.
we went to Jess's parents and then we came home and I was like, I've been wanting just a coffee maker for the longest time. So we went to the Target near our house just to see if anybody was, bleeding on the floor after getting punched for a TV or whatever.
Shot over a toy.
Yeah.
Yep.
That happened at the mall in Syracuse.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
True.
That's terrifying to me that people are willing to do that.
What? Haven't you ever seen fucking, what is it, Jingle All the Way with Schwarzenegger and Sinbad?
Oh my God.
They fight over the action figure for his kid.
Turbo Man.
Turbo Man. Yeah,
I saw that. I saw that
That's
movie waiting
tame
for my.
compared to real life.
True.
I was getting some kind of work done my car, and I saw that movie, like
Dude,
sitting
it's
in a Monroe
hilarious.
muffler.
It's hilarious. It's one of the best
Yeah.
Christmas movies.
Anyways, a coffee
yeah.
maker.
Oh yeah. So
I like coffee. I want to talk about.
So there
this.
was you're walking through Target, and it's like if anybody doesn't know what Target is, I can't imagine nobody would, but it's just a crappy department store.
Yeah, it's
and
just a bullshit.
So
department store.
you walk in, and the way the one we have is laid out is you walk into like the clothing area, and as we're walking through the clothing area, there's just like actual just pallets of TVs with all different prices, different. I'm just like
Black Friday.
There was some comedian who put on there, and he's like, "What the hell are you people doing with your TVs that you need to buy a new one every year for $100?" I think that's a pretty salient point.
Okay, so the TVs that you get on Black Friday
They're garbage.
are shit.
Yeah.
They're like defective, and that's why they're so cheap. And it's actually been like openly admitted and confirmed now that that's the case. But people don't want to hear that.
Did
they
you see
want
all
to
the
hear that they're
stories,
getting a deal.
the footage and the stories that were floating around like Reddit for a while on like Black Friday and the holidays of people at Best Buy like unloading trucks, like dropping TVs. You hear them shatter and they like, kick them and shit.
Yep,
Like,
and then they
truck.
go, "There's a Black Friday one." Yep. So anywho, that's a real thing. And so people buy them, and then every year they have to buy a new one because they keep buying shitty Black Friday defective TVs.
Yeah, that's a
Whereas
good
you
point.
could just pay the extra money to get a TV and pay what it's actually worth, and now you get a real TV that works.
But where's the excitement in that?
Yeah, I want to know. I had
yeah.
to fight for my TV.
Why are you being so practical, Dave?
It's like in Texas when those two fucking big shocker Texas Cowboys, two tough cowboy dads, got in a shootout over a toy for somebody like a couple years ago.
That was another
And
one? I didn't hear about
one of
that
them
one.
died, and it's like, that's really, man. Come on,
God.
come on.
That's the hill to die
It's
on
a
right
toy
there.
though.
So
Exactly, that's the hill to die
So
on.
we went to Target.
My daughter's getting this Barbie. One of us is gonna walk out with this Barbie.
Only I look at my daughter that way.
Yep.
So we're walking through this Target, and it's just people that look mad. They just have screaming kids.
Of course.
And I couldn't get the Nintendo Switch games I want because I'm 12 and they were sold out. So I was just like, all right, let's just get the coffee maker. So that was a really long, pointless story. We saved $5 on a coffee maker and saw some people all mad and angry. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It just really takes you out of it because you're just looking and you're like, why are you even here?
My favorite moment, it's way side topic, but my favorite moment, I love when I see like people watch and I get to see people experiencing things that are very stupid and only their fault and their problem, and they can't deal with it. A really good example is when you see, everybody knows somebody who's obsessed with football, and their team, somehow they convince themselves that they're part of the team. But that team doesn't have a fucking clue who they are. They're nobody. But somehow
We
Eagles
are playing.
are going to the we're playing. No, you're not.
All right, bud. What number is
Yeah.
your jersey?
Yeah.
I didn't see in the locker room.
What position are you? You're in Oswego, New York, so you're not in wherever where that game is. So
We're
why
going
do you
to
think your
the
team ate?
World Series.
So whatever. That's amusing to me when I see everything that has to do with that. And I have many friends that are like that. Most notably is Noodle, who's convinced he is on the Giants roster.
Well, the fact that he could...
I don't even know if it's the Giants anymore, because he probably team jumps to whoever's winning.
Well, the fact that he could like throw a football with his weird toes is like...
Yeah, he
that's
could
got to give him some clout.
He could probably throw a football with his foot.
Honestly, I sort of think that the act of watching sports is more a social thing than anything.
But people get so obsessed with it that they become delusional.
Sure.
They convince themselves that they're somehow a factor in this team that doesn't even know they exist.
But couldn't you try to... Can't that be like attributed to... Like that team is a tribe.
Sure.
Yeah? So maybe they really want to be part of that tribe.
Is the tribe. Their fan base is the tribe.
Yeah.
They want to be part of the fan base. They will never be part of the team. They are not a world-class athlete.
Yeah, it's
And
like
they're not seeking out a job on the team.
There's
like
like
even Waterboy or whatever.
There's like a cache with that team though, like a cachet, whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah, I
like
hear
there's like it's like a cultural sort of thing almost.
Yes.
Like if
Yes.
you're a Yankees fan, you wear a Yankees
Yeah.
hat and you hate everybody. You tell people to go fuck themselves on the subway.
Well, that's like what Dave's point was. There's a fan base, and you're saying there's a culture to each fan base, depending
Yes.
on which
Depending on
which
which
team
team, which
you're
city, yeah.
gung ho
So
about.
my point is a lot of stuff that has to do with witnessing people lose their minds over stupid shit like that is very funny to me.
I agree.
Now, my favorite moment of seeing people pissed ever in my entire life was me and Stace and our friend Jess took a trip to Centralia, Pennsylvania, the town that Silent Hill is based on.
Oh,
right?
the tire fire burning under whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a coal mine that is still
That's a coal
burning,
mine.
right?
It's crazy.
So that's a bust trip. Don't go. If you're listening, don't ever bother going there again, because everything's torn down. It's just flat earth. And sure, yeah, you can kind of see the smoke, but like the graffiti highway, that's like the only thing left there that anybody goes to see. You can't go there now. So it's all a full blast bust.
Why can't you go there?
Because it's too sketchy, so they block it off, and now you can't even go to that. So I mean, you could just go and take your chances, I guess.
Now,
But
Like, can
good
you
luck.
drive in there, or do you have to get out of your
No,
vehicle
you
and
gotta get out of
fenced
your
off?
vehicle. Yeah, you're not driving anywhere.
refresh my memory that the real town specifically.
Centralia, Pennsylvania was a coal mining town in Pennsylvania, up in the mountains or whatever.
Is it like falling into the mine from the
the coal mine that they were working forever lit on fire, and now the coal inside of the mine is going to burn until infinity. Like, it's just going to burn forever.
right?
So they had to evacuate because you can't live over that, obviously.
You don't want some creosote in your diet?
No. So there's like nobody living there now.
Yeah.
And when you go there, all of the residential buildings that were there, they're all torn down
just
now.
flying
So
the
there's
ball.
nothing. You're not going to see anything when you go. So we took a trip out to Centralia, and it was okay. The drive was fun, and just shooting the shit. You guys know how the road is. Yeah. But it wasn't work. It was just a trip, so it was cool. And then afterwards, we were like, all right, well, let's hit somewhere for food, and then we'll head back home. Because it's like, 4 or 5 hours or whatever. And we went to a Buffalo Wild Wings in Pennsylvania. And when we went, this is awesome. So we went in there, and we didn't know, because who gives a fuck, that there was some kind of game going on that was Penn State versus their rival team. And they were getting completely butchered.
Just
bad.
annihilated.
Completely just 0 to 30 something college football game. And every single person in that Buffalo Wild Wings was a 40 or 50-year-old man who was obsessed with Penn State. So we're sitting there trying to eat, and every 5 minutes something happens in the game where everybody in the fucking place, and it was packed with only 50-year-old men, being like, no! What the fuck? Just screaming nonstop, slamming the table and shit, throwing dishes around. We were geeking the whole time. We're just like, yup, you're very mature.
I feel like
Sports, though.
I feel like we have to do like a Dave's language segment, because I don't think everybody knows what that is.
I thought we got into this at one point about how it all comes from my brother.
Maybe we did. It's just geeking's one we've been using a lot lately.
Yeah,
it took me a second.
Geeking is like laughing very hard. People are gonna know.
Geeking is like an.
Yeah, that's
I've been
pretty
saying that
common.
since I was 12. I
Yeah,
think that's actually
common.
an East Coast term.
I think it is East
Geeking,
Coast. Yeah, geeking. Wicked.
Wicked.
People say wicked is a northeastern thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the
dead ass is also East
dead
Coast.
ass.
You don't hear that
hear
on
it
West
around
Coast.
here though.
Oh my god! I thought you guys said dat ass, like DAT,
No,
and I was like, everybody
ass.
says that.
If people say it, I don't hear it. But I'm also not like an 18-year-old college kid, so.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Fooled me in your baseball shirt.
Yeah, okay.
Your baseball,
my periphery,
your
baseball
fucking
team.
3/4 length.
He's a varsity athlete. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, I look like an athlete.
Do you like Penn State?
He's on the team.
No,
He's part of the team.
I actually love Penn State forever because they lost that game and I got to see their fan base erupt.
He's gonna lead them to victory.
Yeah. I do remember one time.
Well, what kills me, I don't mean to cut you.
Oh, go ahead.
It's
man,
like
go ahead.
it's like you'll never see people as impassioned as they are
Yes.
watching sports.
Yes,
it's like
that's
really,
something
bro.
It's like
You got something else to do?
No, I mean, I kind of respect that.
Like
though.
nothing
I
else so
respect it
gets you
too.
going
I just
that much.
wish there was other things that could impact people like that.
Well, let me put it like this way.
man.
So
Excuse me.
when we play to fans. So let's make this musical for a second. One of the things that I dislike a lot, and I don't know the reason behind it. So like when we're playing a set, right? And if we're playing a set and we're really feeling it, and everybody in the band's having a lot of fun, and we're moving around, and we're smiling, we're laughing, and you look, and everybody in the crowd's just.
Oh my god, yeah. At least you guys are having a good time.
And it's like, I don't know.
I get it.
I guess what I want to.
I do it.
My rhetorical question, I guess, would be, if I see somebody who does that for every band, why are you there? Are you only there? And I'm genuinely wondering. And
it's not a diss. It's curiosity.
Let's make this
Why are you
interactive. If
there?
anyone's listening and you're that guy that stands there in the corner the whole time, like why? Because like, all right, so I'll level with you. When I go to shows, like shows, big shows, nationals or whatever,
like
I
Between the Buried and Me
stay
or
near
some
the
shit.
back. Because I'm old and I don't want to get hit by kids. But I still very much enjoy it. So
Yeah.
maybe those people, their body language is deceiving me, and that's totally fine. I mean, we love people's support regardless. But I just wonder, to people who sit there and seem kind of closed off for every band, are you there because you feel obligated? Like, are you actually enjoying it and I'm misinterpreting, which is what I hope? Or are you there trying to nitpick? Because I've seen some people... I've actually known a few people that will go to a national act. Like Rings of Saturn's a perfect example.
I'm not going to say his name, but we all know people. Yeah, we know specific guys that go to shows just to figure out everything about the band they don't like. We definitely know people.
Which to me, that's a huge bummer. I guess
I know, yeah.
I guess I understand.
Your
that,
mind is
but-
just in the wrong place. If you went to a show and you're there for any other reason than to enjoy what you're seeing, enjoy a live performance for what it is, then what are you doing there? It's such a waste of time and money.
I've almost seen people like dedicated to not enjoying themselves.
Yes.
Like they go there and they're standing in the line to buy merch that's pretty expensive but helps
And
the
they're
band
just
out, and they're
pissed.
just miserable.
They're going, they don't have a design I really like.
The
but I
band's
have
playing
to
and they're
get
on their
something 'cause I came.
phone.
No,
and
you
it's
don't.
like, why are you here though?
You guys know people like that?
I know
Yeah.
multiple people like that. Yeah,
It's unfortunate. Isn't
we
it?
know people. The people I'm thinking of is somebody you know for sure.
Probably.
And it's not to shit on them because they're good people. They don't realize they're doing something stupid, but everybody does stupid shit. You know what I mean?
And
But
maybe
the
it's just
stupid thing they do is they're extremely dedicated to being disappointed at all, no matter what the cost. They
Maybe
can't
that's just
enjoy
a disconnect
stuff. You know?
for me though, because
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm just cheap too. Well, I am cheap. You guys know that, but like, I'm not going to
Yeah,
spend
that's
money
fair.
to go to a show to be mad. Like,
No.
I'm going to spend money to go to a show and travel there and be inconvenienced.
Also,
and just because I want to go.
I think it has something to do with expectations too, though, and lack of clarity on what is actually taking place. So, like, we are working musicians, so we've been on stage. We know what it feels like when the lights are too bright and you can't see shit, or when it's too dark and you can't see shit, or when you're too sweaty and your hands are fucking up and shit. We know what that all feels like being on stage, all the weird shit that can happen.
Oh
you know?
my God! Before
click
in-ears?
goes wrong and no ears. Yeah,
When you
no
can't hear
ears
anything.
somehow.
Do you remember that?
Jeez.
Remember that a few
But
years
yeah,
ago?
when
That's
I'm
when
the
your
only guy on
heart
click and it's
stops.
on my phone and shit.
Oh,
Anywho,
come so
we all
far.
know what that feels like. So when we go to concerts, I'm not even thinking about if I hear a note get fudged or some shit. That doesn't even. I'm there to just feel what's happening.
So I want
experience it.
I want
don't
both
care
of
what
your
kind it is.
I want both of your
kind of
takes
music.
on this. So the thing is with live shows, like I guess I'm just trying to analyze this through you guys, like as a mirror. Like, why do we want to go to live shows? Because it's like, if you look at it pragmatically, like, oh God, I gotta travel and I gotta do this and I gotta spend the money and I gotta find, like, if you have kids, you gotta find this. There's just so many things you gotta do. So what is like the draw to it? And for me, it's just like
I can tell you.
there's something that it might be like a hyperbole, but it's like there's something like transcendent about being
Correct.
there. It's like
And it's not just music.
all
it's
sensory
all live entertainment.
experience.
Live entertainment at a high level, regardless of what it is. When you go see it live, you connect with it in a different way. There's no other way to experience that.
Yeah,
You'll never be able to bootleg that.
And it
You'll never
doesn't-
be able to bootleg that.
And so
you
for-
steal a CD, you can watch a video on YouTube, but go see a stand-up comedian live in person.
Oh,
and
for
you're
sure.
You're there. You're in the room with them.
especially for music, it's just like
It's different.
obviously there's a visual. A lot of times they'll have shows, light shows, and all that sort of stuff. But it's just, I don't know. Maybe it's because you're so enveloped in that atmosphere. You're in that
Yeah.
community with people that presumably like the thing that you're into, and you're there.
Yep.
And it's loud. You can't escape in a
Dude,
way.
one
Like,
of the
that kick drum is gonna hit you in the chest, and that snare drum is gonna pierce your forehead.
one
Like,
of the most like awe-inspiring, I don't want to say like religious experience, but one of the most like memorable, powerful things I've ever been to is going to see. I saw a WWE show in Madison Square Garden.
wow. Those are their
Yeah.
like top of the line ones.
That's as good as it gets. Then the Garden is the greatest live venue on earth. Like if it's not the best, which I don't personally think it's the best, it's for sure the most famous arena in the world. And it's the most legendary. And as far as wrestling goes and as far as WWE goes, historically, that's home ground.
Yeah.
So it's a different level when you go see that stuff there. And wrestling's not for everybody, but I grew up watching it when I was a kid. So being able to see WrestleManias that happen in the Garden and then go sit in the Garden and watch guys I know that are top level guys wrestling, and you're right there in the fucking Garden. Like I've never experienced live stuff like that.
I gotta say,
And
like,
I've seen some cool shit live.
I gotta say, like, for me, it's I feel like there's a disconnect depending on what the event is and
Sure.
like how big the area is. So I went and saw Mumford and Sons with Jess, and they're
Okay.
not necessarily my favorite, but it's like a more pop centric kind of
Sure.
sensibility. Like they're great. They're great at what they do.
They're phenomenal.
They're good
at what they do,
performers.
yeah.
They're all like instrumental, like multi instrumentalists. Like they definitely are doing like arena tours because they know what
Certainly.
they're doing.
You're
They're not
correct,
just
yeah.
fools.
It's not a mistake. It's not luck.
So we saw them at Times Union in Albany, which used to be Pepsi Arena, and before that it was the Knickerbocker Arena.
Yep.
That's for the old folks. But I feel it's a bummer because like it was a great show. It's just maybe it's because we're tainted because we do music and we know sound, but in an arena like that in the round, there's just no effective way to get the full spectrum of sound to every corner of that arena. So I heard
No.
barely any guitar, and it was all vocal and kick drum, and that's kind of their mix, but I'm sure if I was sitting somewhere else it would have sounded different. And that's my disconnect, because it was a great experience, it was a great show, it was immersive. I'm looking at ants, but it's still a great show. But I wonder if I would have maybe enjoyed more of it if I could have, like, if more of that sound was intelligible, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas the show that I can think of the most recently that like deeply impacted me on some sort of level, like messed with my brain a little bit in a good way, was when we saw The Contortionist
Recently.
open for
You guys
Between the
just
Buried
saw
and Me at a small like theater size club. Like it's probably a few hundred cap in there,
This was
600
recent,
cap.
right?
Yeah, that was the
Yeah,
one we all
that's the
saw
one, yep.
together. And they played Spotless, which is cool, but it's not even always necessary.
No.
But they played
As long
Spotless.
as
The
the
sound
energy's
was
right,
incredible. It
Performance
was
is right, yeah.
it was so immersive, and it's like their set list was just stacked top to bottom. And I don't know, like,
Dude, Metallica still plays like arenas that get built just to have them come in, and they're like 75,000 seater super arenas.
yeah,
And they have the craziest show in the world, and they never, ever, ever don't sell out every single arena they touch. And they're so unbearably, inexcusably bad and loose now.
is that true?
And it very
I haven't seen it.
undeniable.
Dude,
undeniable.
yeah. The footage is out there.
It's disturbing. It's
done.
disturbing.
It's fact.
You know what
But-
kills me?
But
if you want to ever have
they
the best laugh of your
nonstop-
life, look up when they played in Antarctica.
yeah.
It's-
So
the guitar players, it's not even notes. It's just string noise.
Let's be
hold
fair.
Up, hold
that's
up.
probably logistical nightmare.
Oh, it is. It's a nightmare.
Didn't
so,
Tesseract
hold
do
up.
that too?
I don't remember. I think so, yeah. But the point is that they're that loose and that rough live, and it will never matter. And they constant sell out super arenas for
experience.
end of time.
Yeah.
Because you're going to see a Metallica show.
Right.
And
right.
and they don't have to be super tight to play some of their most memorable material. They do to play some of the and
like the
Justice for All stuff.
B-sides or whatever, yeah.
For sure. But if you're going there and they play like some of the great songs that are on Black Album, they're still going to crater that stuff, and that's going to be awesome. But they're going to play Master of Puppets, and I'm sure they're going to play it decently tight because they've been playing it for 30 years.
There's an interesting thought that keeps popping in my head. There's something to investigate here, because it seems to be a common trope, not just brought up by us, but that art is like a language, a common language everyone understands,
It's
or
the most understood.
it's a philosophy that everyone can grasp. Yeah, I don't know. There's something worth investigating.
There's
there.
an innate thing to music that's hard to describe to people that don't give a fuck about music. It's hard to even like when I talk to somebody and I'm like, what's your favorite band? And they're just like, I don't really listen to music. I'm just like, do you feel alive? Are you alive? Like, are you really living?
I sympathize with that question.
Yeah, you
You're
really
like, what-
feel alive?
How?
How? But that's also my entire life. The most important thing to me is not just music, but the creation of music. And I've been creating music literally my whole life.
Well-
so to me, music is something that I understand, and it's hard for me to relate to. It's hard for me to really grasp, but I have come to terms with the idea that if I'm talking music with somebody, they probably aren't somebody who's been playing multiple instruments since they were a child and has written hundreds of songs and worked on different albums and has seen all different phases of it. You know what I mean? They're probably just my random aunt who's like, my favorite artist is Shania Twain. And I'm like, all right, But even that person still listens to music and loves music.
In some form or another.
Yeah. They might not understand it the same way that I do, but that doesn't matter. And that is what is important about music, is that regardless of your understanding of what's taking place, regardless of the genre, all that stuff, there's not a message in the lyrics, not even a direct message per se. As far as like, oh, don't do drugs or some kind of like generic message, but there's almost like this intangible message through sound wave. That's like when you hear a song, it elicits a certain emotional or like mental response that you can't really put a pin on, but it is there.
Well, think about it. Like they've when you're talking
Talking
about
about wavelengths and whatnot and how they can trigger
crazy.
certain reactions.
yeah, without trying to get into that 432 hertz bullshit. But,
Yeah. We don't have to go deep.
But
that
like,
deep.
if you talk about like, how would you describe a major chord?
It sounds happy.
Right? Why?
Why?
We don't know
Exactly.
There's
That's
a reason,
what I mean.
right?
But when you
I'm
feel it,
fascinated
it
by
feels
that.
happy, and it feels happy to people that don't know why. If I play that same chord
That's what
to
we're
my
talking about.
mom, who doesn't know anything about
She'll be like, "Ooh, that's
music other
pleasant."
than she's seen us our whole lives, you know what I mean?
Right.
But she's never gone into some deep study. She just listens to what she likes.
I don't
Yeah.
even think though.
Even she would go, yeah, that sounds happy. And then if I played her, something that's minor, she would be like, oh, that sounds sad.
So that's
You
my
know?
question though, because I mean, not that it was like high-end education, but I went to school for music, right?
Sure,
And
yeah.
we covered history, we covered
Yep.
production, we covered
course.
performance, we covered theory. Obviously, maybe I wasn't paying attention. I don't know, but I never heard anybody explain to me, and maybe no one knows why that is.
I don't know.
Nobody has been able to tangibly relate to me like this is why generally people perceive this tonal color or timbre or whatever the fancy word you want to use to change your brain waves in a way that this you feel this or you think this. That to me is the most fascinating thing because
that's the part I try to get the most out of. That's how I write. And that's how you write.
Such
great
an interesting
music,
thing
you focus
too.
in on that.
I guess that's a question I have for you guys too. Like I want answers to this. So I only ever really play bass.
Sure.
Okay. So my lens on most music, whatever the genre is, whatever it is, play footsies. Do it. Do it.
Yeah.
Whatever I interpret is based on my performance, my ability to perform on bass, my technical facility or whatever.
Yep.
Generally, most bass players don't play a lot of chords, right? Mm-hmm. That's kind of just a common fact. In most genres, you don't. So I don't identify with that
because we don't want you to.
That's fine. I mean, I shouldn't. I don't necessarily identify with that mainstream bass player personality, 4-string fingers only root notes. Like I don't know. I don't think there's much to be said for that staunch kind of thing. But I play around with chords and this different stuff, so I feel like I have a harmonic context that I understand. Things that appeal to me, or chords with color tones, like 9s and 7s and 13s. Like these things to me, all this technical jargon, it's stuff that makes me feel a certain way. So if I want to feel this way, I'll do just a 159 ambiguous chord or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that only goes so far, whereas I find I have a hard time writing music or putting ideas down or expressing a concept in a chord progression sense, whereas I feel like all of you guys play guitar and it seems like it's easier for you guys to string chords together that go somewhere. There's motion to it, whereas I feel like I'm more riff based. So I'm not moving through chords. Okay. I'm just sticking to what that sounds cool, and then what? Whereas
that has its place too, though.
A lot of you guys,
that's why we work well as a team.
I would say it's got to be because of the register.
You think so?
So
probably.
There's a reason that sopranos and all those registers generally have the melody note because they're the vocal direction of the composition. They're the in a sense the most audible. Perhaps because they are the highest.
There's science behind that says that's true.
You think so?
That's correct.
Fleischer-Munson curve and all that sort of thing. The human brain perceives higher pitches to be louder at any given decibel.
Correct.
Or something very similar to that. But that's the jargon. So yeah, you're correct. So think about it this way: however many soprano voice parts you have in a chorale, like a Bach chorale written for all vocal or whatever.
Bacchanal.
That would be the high notes are gonna pop out. And you can have less of those lead singers because those are going to be more audible to you in a room with proper acoustics. So
that sounds completely plausible. It's the first thing that comes in my head. I think it's got to be something with a register, and I would say that I want to call it evidence, but the fact that this is something that happens all the time in music. If you look at every guitar band. So many of these bands have these riffs where it's these 3-note chord clusters on high strings.
Sure.
And they can be very audible ambient background parts, or they end up just being chord melodies. But it's so repeatable and so concurrent that call it objective, perhaps it's not, but I hear it everywhere. We're in metal. We're in metal bands like Tesseract. All these bands, they always do these high chord clusters.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's a common trend in songwriting.
Yeah, it's a common
right
trend.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks for surmising that.
Or something.
I would totally say it's string register.
And it's I guess I have a hard time trying to discern my role as a bass player, and I wouldn't say I'm self-conscious about it as much as I just never really feel like I identify with the groovy funky guy.
Well, you push the boundaries. There's a time and place for you to do the bassist thing.
What I want to ask you though, this is what this dovetails into is you play guitar.
Correct.
You play drums.
Correct.
As a drummer, and maybe you can't answer this because you do both.
Yeah, maybe.
as a drummer, how do you interpret music differently than, say, like strictly a guitar player? Do you see what I'm saying?
So,
because Julian,
that's a tough question.
my other drummer Julian from my other band, he doesn't play any stringed or noted instruments. He
Doesn't play
only plays
piano or
drums.
anything, yep.
But he interprets music in a way that maybe I don't understand.
Correct. So this is going to take a minute. This is a tough one because I spent the first, I guess half now of my time as a drummer in my life. I started playing drums when I was 6. I'm 31 now. I started playing guitar when I was 17. So from the time I was 6 until I was 17, I didn't have any knowledge of any music theory or anything like that. And I was already in my first real band that I was working with, you know what I mean? And playing drums in that band, working on those parts, is what made me start learning guitar. Because I would write drum parts to the songs, and I wouldn't have a solid grasp on what was taking place in the rest of the song. That didn't work for me. Because in my head, I always thought, if I'm going to write the best drum parts possible for the song, for the sake of the song, I need to be making sure that I'm maximizing how my performance gels with the rest of what's taking place in the song. So, like, if there's a guitar part that's running tripleted 16th or something, descending run, if I'm not even aware of what the fuck is going on there other than the rhythm, then I might not really come up with a way to utilize that and accent that properly. Okay. You know what I mean? And at least that's the thought process. I don't know that that's necessarily true, because before I played guitar, I wrote drum parts for an album's worth of material, and there was no issue, you know?
You know what's funny? When you just said music theory, it's funny how you hear these things your whole life, and maybe to everyone else it's like, duh, how'd you just think of it now? Is music theory not just the observation of what is musically?
So
yes, I mean, that's literally what all it is. All music theory is to me is a way of organizing and interpreting and understanding what is taking place.
And even then, like when you go,
it makes it
music
easier
theory,
to communicate.
And when you take like a test in college for music theory, like
sure,
there are more quote unquote optimal chord progressions or note leading than others.
Sure, yeah.
And you'll be graded on that, and you'll be assessed, and you'll be critiqued. Well, the
awesome.
motion of this one isn't as good as the other.
Yes, delivery.
Oh my!
Thank you. Thanks,
Look at that.
My lovely wife.
That's a nice delivery.
Big old bottle of whiskey.
So
continue.
Anyway, yeah. So music theory seems to literally just be the observation of how music triggers certain responses.
I would say that any literally any interpretation of the term or concept of music theory is correct, is valid. Now in a strictly academic sense, depending on who you're talking to, what you're studying, what it is, there's less leniency. I would say that what you're saying is completely valid, and I wouldn't argue against you saying that that's what that is. I will say that going to school for it, at least the limited, like what I had exposure to it, is maybe music theory is a bad term because it's too big. It's too big of an umbrella.
It's very broad.
Basically, what we referred to as music theory was trying to learn that language as we understand it. We understand it as a whole. So, like, we did a lot of, you start with Gregorian chant, and you're basically trying to see how music is structured, but then you reverse engineer that, and then a lot of exercises where write something in the style.
I'm so glad I didn't learn that way.
You know what?
So glad I didn't.
And that's
I feel
something
like it would
that's
stifle songwriting so bad.
Hi, welcome to me.
Yeah.
This is why I feel like every
too.
idea I come up with is already been done. It's terrible. It's not going anywhere. Oh, this is just a dumb 2-bar riff. This could never be a full song. And I just throw so much away. And I'm self-aware, but I don't know how to get over that, because when you guys are writing
conversations with, I mean, you guys know I write a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And I've always said my greatest attribute as a musician is my songwriting skill. As a drummer, whatever.
Yeah.
As a guitarist, whatever. But as a songwriter, that's where I've always put all my emphasis. I always put all my eggs in the songwriting basket. I only ever learned drum technique and stuff that I needed to learn on drums. That was to be able to play what I needed to play for the songs I was writing. Same exact thing with guitar. In recent years, I've taken more of a path into developing technical proficiency through study and practice or whatever, because I feel like the goal in good songwriting is the imagination. If you lock things too much into a pre-cut box of, okay, well, it has to fit in this time frame, it has to fit in this time signature, it has to fit in this tempo, it has to fit in this key, it has to fit in this chord structure. That's all good tools to use when writing. They're good boundaries to set, but great writing doesn't come from that place.
And that's what I wanted to get at.
It comes from the imagination.
And
it comes from hearing a song in your head and then understanding the theory and the languages and the concepts enough to be able to take what creative idea is in your head and be able to put it out into the physical realm using your actual instruments that you learn how to play.
I feel like
and that's not easy for everybody.
I feel
That's
like
a really great explanation.
working with you guys, you're never too far gone, but I feel like I learned enough to like kind of fuck myself out of certain mindsets in ways. So when I work with you guys, I feel like I'm trying to unlearn,
and that's good.
A lot of the stuff that
It's
I've
not gonna be
learned
as easy.
before, because I'm sitting here. So we've been working on a tune, and Pat goes, "This is the chord progression I have," and he just plays chords. I was like, "All right, what are the chords? What are the notes?" He's like, "It's this fret," and I was like,
Yeah.
"I'm jealous of you because it
Yeah.
sounds cool." And you have
And
an
it
idea
sounds correct.
of where
It
you
sounds right. The notes
want
are
it
all
to
right.
go, because inherently you know what works for you.
I'm glad that
Yes.
you get this too. Because
But
have you ever written with like your best friends and they just go, I don't know, bro, I just put the capo on.
And it just
And you're like,
it
"Come
boggles
on."
my mind, because I'm like, how does it not bother you that you don't know what key that's in? Because I'm trying to determine the chord
Yep.
by being the bass player. So how do I know
so
what
I'll
key
say
it's
this.
in? And then I sit there and I analyze it, and then I go, shit,
And when I write,
it's just a 1-6-4 chord progression.
yeah,
But
you can't worry about that. When you're writing, you have to just write what
Right.
pops into your head.
it's just tough because my brain, like I did all
You're
Bach,
analytical.
like 4-part Bach chorales. Like we just
Yes,
did that
yeah,
for
yeah.
a year and a half in
Yep,
school.
me
So I'm
too.
sitting here like, oh, it's this progression, and here's the same thing, and here's the perfect cadence, and here's the deceptive cadence. I'm just like, oh, cool. And now I look at the stuff we write, and I'm like, so why doesn't it go to I'm already too far. Like I've already gone, I've lost the point of what the emotion was.
yeah.
And I think that's my frustration.
So for me, I know you've texted me recently and been like, dude, how do you write?
Mm-hmm.
How do you write? So I have enough theory knowledge. I'm not some genius of theory. I don't know a lot of stuff. But I have enough theory knowledge to understand the language. Like I know scales, I know chords, I know keys and modes and stuff like that. Modes is tough. I always have to purposely brush up on them, but they don't matter that much.
I don't
They're-
think they matter.
Mode
at all.
modes are funny. Modes are like this mystical thing to guitar theory.
They're just scales.
But all they are
That's all they are.
is a way to connect scale positions in your mind. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't dictate anything. All they are is like, this mode is this finger spacing across all the strings. And then the second mode is always the same. Like it's always the same order. You know what I mean? Because all it is naming and it's developing a way to communicate and interpret in your mind musical like note placement that's already there
So
anyways.
here's where I'm
know what I
gonna
mean?
here's where I'm gonna
It's there.
I'm
How
gonna
can
let you
interpret it?
into how I think, which you probably already
Sure.
know. But okay, so here's all the all the terminology, jargon alert.
Sure.
So you're completely correct.
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say you're not. I'm gonna say this is like how I interpret it based on what I've learned. Right.
Sure.
Okay, so we're writing a song in a minor key. It's in A minor because our lowest open string's A. That's just an easy place to go.
Yep.
Writing in A minor. Minor is your Aeolian. That's your sixth mode, right? So if we want to have like a solo that's going to be bright and happy across that, we'll use our relative major or our Ionian mode. So if we're in A, that'll be C.
Yep.
If you want to do something a little more outside that still sounds kind of minor, you can use the Dorian, which is the 4 of the 6, which is your second mode.
Yep.
So that would be your D Dorian. That doesn't mean anything to anybody, what I just said.
It's
but
just
to
a way
me,
to
I'm
communicate
going, oh, so you're going to have that like sharp, like natural major 6 in that Dorian mode. So that's going to create a suspension against where you're using your minor
and
chord.
And the cool thing about it, the only way it's really helped me has been to identify things that I've already heard in my head. Sounds and feelings, emotional implication changes slightly with each one of the different modes, right?
Yeah.
And all that learning modes did was help me go, oh, okay, that's what that sound I've been trying to achieve is. It's just this mode at this time, and then figuring out with the right times for what sound, right?
Like just basically trying to say most technical death metal that you've ever heard is just Phrygian dominant. End of story. Like that's
usually
pretty
Phrygian
much
dominant, yeah.
But
or
the thing
Locrian,
is,
just straight up
everybody,
stuff,
a lot of people who can write that stuff don't even know that. They just write what sounds like what they want it to sound like in that style. And
sure,
I'm handicapping myself by going, oh, it's just a Phrygian dominant lick, and it's all flat 5s. It's fine.
Yeah, and in this song that we're working on right now it's harmonic minor, right? Yeah. It's heavier. We're writing a heavier banger for you guys, but it's harmonic minor mostly, and it switches around different notes in a given harmonic minor scale, and then we kind of change keys and do stuff and make decisions on where the chord progressions go. But all of that is just when I'm writing that stuff, or when I'm pretty sure this is the same for Brad, and that's why he's able to have such high output, higher than I do. I think it's because he's just looking for what just sounds good and feels right in him. Some people, great songwriters, will just have a feel for that. And I feel like that is tough to teach. However, teaching somebody how to be a prolific songwriter is not... I don't want to say prolific, because prolific would be being able to just pump out songs. That's where Brad is. I would not say I'm prolific. I would say you could teach somebody how to write stuff that is actually good, even if they don't have that innate sense for it of like, oh, these just work. Whatever the theory is, we'll figure out later. But I can feel that it works. I can hear that it's resonating correctly, and it just works, Key changes are the biggest thing of that, because even you can't just pick any key and just jump around and go, cool. You could, but that's not it's not going to flow, Yeah. What's going to flow is going to be specific decisions that are based on how it feels when it flows. And all of us know that when you listen to it, you're not thinking about theory. You're thinking, does that feel right coming after this or before this or whatever? How do they flow into each other? And with key changes, that is exposed.
The best example of our tunes, which none of you guys have heard yet on record at least, is the chorus to Drown in It.
Yeah.
It's just a descending 100%. Chromatic thing.
Yeah, but when you hear it in context,
it makes complete sense.
It's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's, I guess...
It's so simple.
I'm trying to understand how we got there, because I know it. I know what it sounds like.
Do you want me to tell you how I wrote that chorus?
Well, I'm
because that's a tune that I wrote the majority of the guitar riffs for.
I do. I'm just saying, like, for me, when I first saw it, I was like, how does this work? And then I hear all the layers, and I go... It works.
You're gonna love
and
this.
I still don't know how,
this is inside
but I know
info
that it works.
on
And
how
that's
I write a lot.
That's where I drive myself crazy, because I'm like, this doesn't, like Bach style. This makes no sense.
So this is how I write a lot of our stuff. A lot of the stuff that I write that gets used by us, rather, because I don't write all our stuff, but the stuff that I bring to the table that gets used. A lot of the way that I write is I think of some kind of, I guess you'd call it a motif. Right?
Yeah.
Like some kind of thing, some kind of idea, right? Now, that's kind of how I write everything. I think of some kind of idea and how I can achieve it in a way that when you feel it, when you listen to it, you feel it, the feeling stays. The momentum is still there, right? So in drowning it, that what I think of as the chorus, right? You brought up the chorus. All it is the motif of taking, here's a power chord that gives you the resolution. So that's setting up the bass for that riff, and then taking the root and shifting it down a chromatic note. And then you adjust it was the fifth. Now it's not, obviously, because you shifted the root down. Just moving the top note with that chord to set up for now the root shifts again and makes a power chord out of the higher note, right? So it's just the motif of like slide the bottom, slide the top, slide the bottom, slide the top during the chords. But then what notes am I sliding to with each of those moves that will make it sound good? And that's all I did. And that's how I came up with that progression. I didn't think, okay, I need to move to these keys because it makes sense in this theory. No, I thought of the physical motif of my fingers moving. Slide my pointer finger down, then slide my ring finger.
The first
then
time
slide
I've ever done that.
That's as simple as I thought.
I've
came up with that
It
riff.
finally came out naturally for me in this new song demo that I'm actually presenting to the band. We just tracked one little riff of it before this
We'll
podcast
get more,
started.
though. We'll get more.
But it was the same thing, man. There's a part where I go to the minor second instead of the perfect second instead of the minor second, because a minor second is actually just a half step.
Yeah, and it's going to impose a minor feel, whereas a natural
it's a major
is going
second.
to be
There's
colorless.
Major second.
Perfect for fourths and fifths. See,
Yeah.
you're making me go back to school now.
I know. I'm trying to go back, but that's where I'm.
So
That's
you
what
go
I'm
up
saying.
a whole step instead of half step.
That's my point, though, is
Yeah,
that
major,
some of that was
minor second,
abandoned
yeah.
in that there's a chord progression where it should be going to a chromatic note above the root, but I don't.
Because of sound, because of
Just
natural
because of
feel
sound.
and
so
intuition.
here's
And
my brain.
that's songwriting.
My brain goes, okay, you're in a different mode then. And
Mine
that's-
too.
I got to
That's
get
where
away
I go,
from
whoa,
that.
what am I doing?
You have to say,
But that's so
I'll
ingrained.
unpack that later.
Yeah.
I'm not going to worry about that now because there's always
That's the hard
The thing
part
you have
for
to
me,
understand
though.
about theory too is there's always whatever you do naturally.
Well, theory
there's always
has a
going to
word
be some
for this.
way.
They call it imposing.
Yes,
And I didn't
yes,
go
yes.
to Berkeley or, I didn't go beyond 2-year college, so I didn't really get to learn about imposition.
Super advanced.
Superimposing.
The hardest,
yeah.
so the hardest lesson that I obviously didn't learn that well, when you learn it at the end of your 3 years of theory that you take on a music degree, you start with Gregorian chant, which is super loose and sloppy, and it's all
Well, at least where you went to school.
it's all
because
four
there's some
ones.
schools that have
and then
radically different.
you go
programs.
through all the stuff as it builds, and you get to like the Bach chorale and all that stuff, and then you start to get to more like impressionism, like Debussy and all that stuff, and then you get into all the weird, wacky shit where people are writing in spirals and they're writing colors and moods, like impressionistic stuff or like John Cage type stuff.
Oh,
so
dude.
what they're trying to teach you, which
Dotted science, bro.
I obviously
He's a
didn't,
genius songwriter.
obviously didn't
I'll
learn
unpack that. Keep going.
is they want to teach you all the rules and then teach you that you can break every rule you want. I didn't learn that I can break every rule because the rules sound good to me. So I'm just like,
No, you have to
cool.
break the rules.
So if this is the scale, then it's that mode, so I can play this over.
because that's the thing, if you break the rules, you're going to find theory that explains it anyways.
Which is true.
Yeah. That's
just,
why you
like,
have
the longer
to not.
road.
Don't worry about it. You'll get there after. That's why I say the great songwriters will understand those tools, theory being the tools, right?
Yeah.
But that's not what's important. How you feel when you listen back is what's important first. You'll explain it with theory later when you're tabbing and, documenting everything, which you should do. I think a professional musician or songwriter, I think it's irresponsible
We just talked about this.
to not have transcription of your stuff.
Or at
That's
least
just my opinion.
At least chord
Even
charts
if
and lead
it's
sheets, anything.
something,
Literally
some way
anything.
to be able to document what is taking place. There's so many acts out there that are professionals that don't do that. That's fine. In my opinion, being a professional songwriter means you are willing to go to that extra level.
I think
I think it's irresponsible.
The last thing that I have to say on this, and I'm trying to be self-aware about it and move past it, is that I feel like the perception I have of it is if I can tell what it is and I can put the riff or the lick or the chord progression in this box,
Yep.
then it's already been done enough, and I'm not going anywhere new with it, which is not necessarily true. But the tune we were working on, I just threw a chord progression out just to see, like, because I know what I want those root movements to sound like.
Sure.
So it's just a 1 5 7 6 progression in a minor key.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all over rock and pop music.
Yep.
And I'm just like, here's a stock progression. Now, to me, it's a throwaway. And then when Brad got it, he syncopated the rhythm and made it into something cool that might get used in this song or another song or whatever.
Yeah.
But when I threw it out, I was just like, here you go, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's
cool to know.
That's hard
because
for me though, because I don't want
to throw it out.
I
But
don't want to feel that way though.
the
I want to be
idea
like, this
we
is
end
cool.
up getting to is going to be the one that we are looking
Is this
at. Going,
Jacob
this
Collier?
is cool instead. You know what I mean?
No,
The
for
idea
sure.
that's going to get picked is going to be the one that we listen to and go, that feels right.
Yeah.
And if that happens to be the theory idea, then yes. But if it doesn't, we'll figure it out later, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like when I write songs, it's tough for me to gauge how it feels to write as only a drummer or only a guitarist, because now I do both.
Yeah. You don't have
At a
that.
similar level, too.
separation.
I've kind of balanced out where my guitar playing is and where my drumming is, which is cool. That's fair. And now I practice both, and I try to get them both gradually increasing, you know?
I would say, and now this ties into like Julian that I brought up
Yeah,
earlier.
yeah, because you're bringing up
Do
your
you
drummer in
think?
your other band.
Do
Julian,
you think
shout
that
out.
somebody who's just a drummer, like
Which
that's
is nothing wrong with.
that's what they play predominantly, like that's how they.
It's gonna dictate the way that you think about writing parts for songs.
But do you think that somebody who is predominantly a drummer, plays drum kit or hand percussion or whatever, is also inherently maybe a better music listener, and that's how they can create parts that fit with the melodic context?
I wouldn't say that.
You don't think that's
I would
necessarily
say
true?
I would say it's literally just going to be they're going to be thinking about rhythms first and melody second, or not at all.
Yeah.
And that, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm sure there's a lot of great drummers that's all they play, so their drum parts are going to have a certain sound to them that might be different than the drummer who does know what he's hearing differently. He understands the melodic content of what he's hearing and everything going on in the rest of the mix, and so he's adapting what he's playing to that. It doesn't mean it's better. It's just going to be a different approach. I think Julian is a great drummer, and I think that his approach to writing drum parts for songs is probably mechanical. It's probably,
which is funny
this
because
is a cool drum part.
he's written
that
some
fits
riffs.
This.
That's-
I'm sure he has.
which is I guess that's
Nothing wrong with that
What
either.
makes me wonder that is like maybe you can't articulate it well, but I wonder if that's common for somebody who predominantly plays a rhythm-based instrument to have an ear for certain
I'm
things.
sure he has ideas
'Cause
in his head. He just doesn't know how to translate them to physicality.
My favorite story was he was like, "Oh, I have this riff in my head," and our guitarist for that band, Zach, he's like, "All right, like what is
He has
it?"
no way
And
to
he
portray
goes-
it other than with
He
like
just
his
goes
mouth.
dun da 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 da,
Yep.
and then Zach's like, "Okay," and then he tabbed it out, and it's on one of the records, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
Because anybody that loves music and that is full blast invested into it, even people that aren't musicians and they've just lived their whole lives listening to music, are going to have musical ideas pop in their head. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but you're going to hear music in your head from nowhere that is like, man, I wish that was a song by a band that I was hearing. And part of becoming a songwriter and becoming a musician is trying to go, okay, well, I have this idea in my head, and it's not from, like, what song is that from? It's not from anything. Well, it's my job to make it something and put it out into the world, you know?
Yeah.
I get my best song ideas right before I'm falling asleep.
I've heard that before.
Really?
I've heard people tell me that before.
100%.
I've heard people tell me that.
When I'm on the verge of falling asleep, I'll get full songs just fleshed out.
Word.
But it's up to me to get my
get
ass
up
out of
and go
bed
try
and
to
go
work
try
on
to
it.
figure it out.
Yeah.
And I almost never do.
No.
Who does?
Well, when you have jobs
No.
and stuff, it's tough. Like, I wake up at 4:30 in the morning for work every day for my day job. And I'll say a lot of ideas for good shit that I have mostly go unused and go lost because I'll get them while I'm at work. and then I get home and they're gone. And I've tried ways to document them, but my job doesn't really. I'm not in a position at my job
I know
where I'm
that
able
phenomenon you're
to
talking
stop
about.
and try to document it. You know,
Right.
I think it comes from a place of focus. I think if you're focused on some shit you're doing, like if I'm mowing the lawn, which I don't really have a lawn, so that's not a thing. But hypothetically, if I was like on a riding lawnmower and I'm just driving, I'm left to my thoughts, but I'm like focused on this thing I'm doing, your mind kind of clears up. You're not thinking about the bills. You're not thinking about shit. You're just driving the lawnmower. You're thinking about mowing the grass. You're going, oh, I got to take this turn. I got to go this way, right? And with that clarity of thought that is you're not doing it consciously. It just is part of the process of doing something, right? You open room and then all of a sudden some idea sparks.
I
And
hear
then
that
you
a
start
lot about
thinking
showers.
about that. Showers are huge for me too, yeah.
People are just, you just go through the process.
Yeah.
Shampoo, body wash.
You're not
face
thinking about it.
wash,
I
you
live
When you
in
know.
do
such
that,
a
your head
different.
clears.
I live in such a different headspace than all of you guys.
That's
And
okay.
it's weird to me. It's just because like I'm sitting here having a full conversation with you guys and I'm engaged, but I'm still thinking about 1,000 things.
Mhm.
And I wonder if that's just
different people's
if other
brains
people
work
feel that as
differently.
much, or if it's more.
I'm
of just
sure
a
they
me
do.
thing,
I'm
but-
sure they do, yeah.
Bourbon has a higher alcohol content than beer,
Okay.
so it's quicker to get rid of those excess thoughts.
And there's bourbon here, so
No, I'm all set. I actually had a funny idea. I'm going to give this away because I don't think it's ever going to happen. The thing will happen, but the idea might not. And if it does, disregard this. But so we were talking about doing glassware at some point.
yeah.
Doing pint glasses and
Certainly, I'd love
like
to.
rocks glasses.
Mhm.
So I thought of a skit that could be funny. And like even if we do it, then I'm just leaving this in. Like fuck it. But
Who gives a shit?
the idea was I want it staged, like set up like a cheesy commercial.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like Brad in his bathrobe because he tries to drink a lot of whiskey. So it's like you and Brad.
He likes
and,
whiskey.
And you guys are like holding cigars and you're just at a table or you're outside or whatever. And you're in like bathrobes with slippers. You're holding cigars and you have your rocks glasses and you're just holding it like this. And I walk up and I was like, hey, what are you guys doing? And you guys are like, oh, we just got these new Anabasis rocks glasses. We figured we'd, uncork some bottles and have a little bit of whiskey exchange or whatever. I'm like, oh man, that sounds great. I wish I liked whiskey. And you guys are like, I mean, you can drink this. And I'm like, no, dude, I'm just not big on liquor. And you guys are like, you think we'd actually use liquor in a commercial? This is apple juice. And I'm like, oh, great. And then I take one and I drink it. I go, I'm like spitting up and shit.
Got you, stupid ass.
And then you look at and one of you looks at the other one and goes, what a fucking idiot. Or something like that. But it would actually be apple juice and I'd have to act it out. I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be funny.
That is clever, yeah,
Anyway,
because that would still be legal. We could do that commercial.
I mean, I
Yeah.
could drink on TV. Nobody will
Yeah,
know.
we're all in our, I mean, Dylan's in his mid-20s, but the rest of us are late 20s.
I think
early
what you meant to
30s.
say is we're all about done. Yeah.
No, I am done. I'm not done, not by a long shot. That's one thing I realized. Like, last time we were up here, we were talking about the existential stuff. That's something that gave me was I realized I'm not done by a fucking long shot.
Thank God. Right?
I have so much shit that I am trying to make happen before it's my
It sounds
time
like
to
a
go.
wrestling reference should pop up.
Maybe.
I'm
yeah.
not done yet.
Yeah. Stone Cold Steve Austin quote or something. But no. There's just a ton of shit that I want to do. And it's not like bucket list shit. It's like stuff I have to do.
Yeah.
And part of that is writing music and finding out whatever we have to do to be able to get
Isn't
it out
that-
to enough of the masses.
Isn't
to
that John
make an
Cena?
impact.
That
Yeah, that's
trumpet
John
theme?
Cena's
Yeah,
John Cena.
okay. I just want
do
to
you
make
guys
sure.
do you guys have obsessive lists? Do you guys do lists
Nope,
like I do?
I should do more lists.
Lists of what?
I
Everything.
obsessively
Anything.
don't do lists.
So if I were
When
to
I get really frenetic about something, I will formulate
So
a
this-
list because it gives me something to just like channel it
this
into.
is how I live my life, which is, I mean, maybe this is just insight to people who don't know me personally, who might be listening. But so I just put lists in my phone of everything. So I've got like 6 different lists that run at
I
different
have
times.
some lists like that.
And
yeah.
one's all money, and one's like personal stuff.
money
I'm
I owe
doing.
you. I have a list of money that I owe AJ.
Yeah, everybody does.
Yeah.
Papa Starbucks or
Papa
whatever it goes.
Starbucks, whatever
Um,
the fuck. Yeah.
One of them is like stuff I got to do this week. One of them's like longer term goals. So I got one for the band, and it's like every time we get something done, I check it off, and I'm just like, oh, that's good.
Yeah, yes.
Like testing out that damn Axe FX tomorrow. When you guys get that
Yes.
done, I'm gonna be like, oh.
we have an
just
Axe
scratch it off the
FX3.
list.
Dylan just got an Axe FX3. It's phenomenal. It's very, very
It's
nice.
very powerful, which I appreciate.
I've hardly even used it yet.
I know it's been in my home studio,
$2,000,
which is okay.
and I've spent like an hour on the thing.
So
I've spent more time programming the thing.
I'll say this. I love the Helix. I think the Helix is the most user-friendly of all of the processors I've used. I think that Fractal just caught up with them for sure.
Well, it's because they stole pretty much the whole UI, which I'm not.
They needed to.
I'm not like knocking that.
No.
I'm just saying
please do that.
It's good
I
that
wish
everybody
people did that more.
Well, let me put
It's
it
like
to you
if it
this
works,
way.
use it, right?
Yes.
Let me put it to you this way. I'm absolutely not knocking that. I would say that that's good because what if, like you and I have, all three of us have owned XFX 2s before.
Yes, I had 2XL Plus.
What if we didn't, but we had owned a Helix before and we got that thing? We'd know mostly how to use that with no issues.
The 3? Yes.
Which is great. And I wonder, like, if
you know what?
If Boss does that with a GT1000 and then Kemper's a little different. I used to have one, but like,
man, I forget about the Boss stuff.
it's
The
pretty
GT1000
legit.
is pretty legit.
Like Nita Strauss uses it.
and it's a
she does lot of
floorboard
stuff.
unit.
Yeah.
It's a floorboard unit.
So does Jack Gardner.
Does he
Yes.
really?
You know what unit I haven't heard anything from that has really
The
made me
Atomica?
go
The head rush.
the
stuff?
head rush. Yeah.
What's
The-
that?
Atomica, I've actually gotten my hands on
me,
the
that's a
Atomic
different
Mini
thing entirely.
and it's very similar to like a AX8 almost.
Okay.
It's micro, but the sounds, like the amp sounds you get in there, are really good.
You know what's
Nice.
supposed
and you can
to
load
be,
cabs in there and stuff.
Well,
And it has an app on the.
Pliny was using it for a little bit.
I personally, I had a buddy of mine, Jake Bear. Shout out to Jake Bear. He's
Oh, dude,
good.
I love those
yeah,
guys.
Yep.
Was well, he's not still doing that project.
I don't know what Ethernauts is doing. I hope if they're not doing anything, whatever, real life happens.
Did
but
he do? Was
I
he,
hope they do something
Did
again.
he also do sound discard, or was that just Mark?
No, that was Mark,
Okay.
our buddy Mark Salazzo. Shout out to him too. He's a good dude.
Anyway,
Point is, Jake had he had an Atomic that he brought over here, and we tested sounds on it, and I was able to get the same standards we go by, like low gain, clean, high gain, like rhythm and a high gain lead / solo.
were you able to like everything?
And it all sounded very good.
everything high pass with the correct blocks and stuff like
Here's
that.
the thing. On the pedal, you have zero controls. It's worthless. You plug it in to the computer, and it has an app just like the Axe FX app.
So you know what's
It's very
supposed to be
good.
really good too is the Moore one, so that Chinese company.
Yeah, I've heard good things
I've
about
heard
those.
good things about it. But as a bass player, there's no options.
A unit that is high end, and I would love to get my hands on sometime, and I'm not sure how, because it's like it's the one you won't see, but it's like a Fractal Helix competitor that is kind of its own thing. Is the DV Mark one?
Oh.
Because Marcos Fogli, is that his last name? Marco,
The guy that just got the
Italian
new
John
guitar on
Petrucci guy
Ibanez,
who's
yeah.
incredible.
Yeah.
The G is either silent or it's not.
Yeah.
it's
Either
whatever.
way, that guy, whatever his fucking last name is, he's phenomenal. I love that guy. He's one of my favorite players.
So can I tell you the secret though?
He's a DV Mark guy,
Can I
and he used one of those.
Tell you the secret with that?
Yeah.
Not
I
that
think
it-
he used
not-
that on our
Not that it discounts anything with the quality of the product. I'm sure it's great.
Sure.
Those are Italian companies.
Correct.
Mark Bass and DV Mark are Italian companies.
I'm aware. Yeah.
So that to me, that
And
that
he's an
explains
Italian guy,
some-
so-
like the guy.
And he's not with DV Mark.
I think it's
anymore.
like Frank Hermany or something, the bass player for that band Adagio. He uses
I'm
all the
aware,
Mark
yeah.
Bass stuff too.
Yep,
He's fucking
So
insane.
Mark bass heads
Now-
are fucking nasty.
Now, Mark Bass was originally, they had more of an exclusivity type of deal with Guitar Center. They may still have one.
Talking about the old yellow and black amps.
The yellow
Yeah.
cones.
Yeah.
But then the thing that scared me off of those for
It's
a hot
funny you
minute
say
was
that.
that they had an exclusive deal with Guitar Center because Guitar Center has been known. I used to work there, so I will fight you
You'll
on this.
verify
They've
it,
been known to sell some kind of garbage at, super huge margin to make their money, which it's business.
Correct.
But I own some of the Mark Bass stuff, and there's literally nothing wrong with it.
Correct.
You know what it reminds me of is like it reminds me of like a GK amp
Yup,
with
yup.
less
That's what I was gonna
GK
say.
style baked into it.
Yes.
GKs usually have those boost circuits and stuff, and they get a little bit more like like round and gritty.
They color the sound the GK sound, similar to how Ampegs have the Ampeg
whereas like the
sound and
Mark
stuff.
bass is like
Marks are neutral.
it's not
Clean.
I would say it's not quite as flat as something like a Gensler or like what the hell's it, Bergantino or something like that, but it's almost dead flat. The Mark for the price you're paying, the Mark bass stuff, like I
know
would
the
buy it.
keyboard
It's
players will use Mark bass amps.
Yeah.
They're pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah. To do
the-
live power
Yep.
amping.
The
Yep.
guys
What I
in
own-
Sophistafunk from Syracuse.
Oh yeah,
Yep,
those guys
yep.
are great.
They
Yep.
use the Mark bass for the keyboard out.
What I owned
He
for
might not still, but I know years ago.
I mean,
for
we're
a
DI,
while.
so it's not anything for us, but if we
Yeah.
would consider it for sure.
What I owned for a very short amount of time was a cabinet that Mark Bass has, I believe, since discontinued, but it was super cool.
Their cabinets are sick.
It didn't work in the context I was using. I was playing a death metal band, but it was a 4x8, so it was 4 8-inch tones.
Really?
So it still had a lot of low end, like the same as a 410 would, but
Yeah.
it was even tighter.
Yep.
And then you could combine that with like a 115, which I don't like 15s. They're a little sluggish, but
It's funny that
anyway,
we were talking.
It's funny that we're talking about this shit.
It's
We don't
funny that
even
we're
play Cavs
talking
anymore.
about Jake Bear from Ethernauts
Yeah.
and Mark Bass, my really good buddy. Basically, I see him as like a little brother. My very good friend Wes Jones was the bassist in Ethernauts, and he played Mark Bass stuff, and his sound was awesome.
It's great stuff.
Yep.
I can't find a thing wrong with it. I had
Also,
a Mark head.
he's a savage, dude. Wes is a savage. He's a very, very, very good bassist. He studies hard. He went to school for production, I believe. He did a solo album that he produced. I played a couple
I'm gonna have to
solos
hear
on
that.
guitar and
I
some
gotta hear
drums
that.
on it. It was awesome. Wicked good stuff.
Hook me up with that.
It's so good.
I gotta say, and this might just be my negative perception, but so guitar players, if you play guitar in any genre or style, you're gonna talk to other guitar players. Like it's just
Absolutely.
everybody
That's
just-
part of the that's
everything.
part of what is feel good about being a musician is
There
when
are
you're
so-
in, you're in, and you can connect with other musicians and talk. And
in my
discuss
personal
things.
experience, there are so few bass players that seem like they really want to be 1,000,000% sociable with other bass players. And maybe I'm just hanging out with the wrong people, but it seems like maybe there's just less of us. I don't know, but like I want to talk to all the guys we know, and
like
I just
Grant.
yeah, and I just
He's not very social in general, but not to knock him. It's just not how he is.
it's just weird because I feel
He's
like
got a lot going on. He's got his own stuff.
but
you
not
know.
even Grant, but I just feel like most bass players I know, like we all kind of hide in our own caves and we don't really
Yeah, which is weird, but it's true.
do as much. I don't know if there's something to that or if I'm just seeing that, but I don't know. Dude, I could talk for days.
I feel like there's a pretty solid community of drummers.
drummers.
Yeah.
There's got to be, right? Because
Yeah,
I mean,
feel like the drum community is pretty cool.
there's so
I feel
much
like
you can do.
any of the drummers I've reached out to and spoken to, even famous guys, and I'm nobody, you know what I mean? But anytime I've ever reached out to any drummers, even guys that are, famous or successful or whatever, they've always been wicked cool. I've never interacted with any drummers.
I'm
that
a
were
guitar
dog
player,
shit.
so I don't even care about what you guys are talking about.
Yeah.
Well, not to say
That's how
that
guitar players are. We're
not
just,
to say
we're
that
in
if
our
I
world.
Yeah.
reached out to somebody who I look up to that plays bass, they would not be responsive. I'm not saying that. I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
like I guess in a more local or regional context,
more
I
immediate.
feel like I never really.
Yeah.
I
And
definitely
on a
local-
understand that locally.
Locally, the guitar community is weird. There's not a lot. There's not much. It's not much.
Yeah.
But drumming, I know a lot of good drummers. And the drummers I know that are good, they know who's good. And they all are talking and are cool with each other, Like, I just messaged my buddy Alex, whatever his last name, Zalatan or whatever. Is it Zalatan or
Well, they did the zealotry
Zalatan?
thing lately, and then
However
it's
the fuck
Zalatan.
you pronounce it.
Zalatan.
Either way, Alex is a ridiculous drummer.
Oh, yeah, he's
a
nuts.
good buddy of mine. And it's purely based on the fact that he's a drummer that I saw play and went, what the fuck is his body made
Where
out
did he
of?
come from?
Yeah.
Who is this thing?
And so I just immediately walked up to him after it was like, you're a monster. And he is a monster. He's like the resident tech death,
Yeah.
serious death metal guy around here as far as drum work. If you're doing a tech death album and you need somebody to do real drums, that's your guy.
Well, he's done a bunch of other stuff outside of this area as well. hasn't he?
100%, yeah.
So
but
like,
I reached out to him just recently and was just like, dude, I have a drum studio in my home now. come do covers and I can film you. We have GoPros and shit.
By the
and then
way,
we can just fuck off and play Super Nintendo.
speaking
And
of
he went,
tech death,
that's happening.
You need to show me some of your go-to Nevermore tech death riffs and whatever the hell you.
Oh,
do.
they're-
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
I need to learn that stuff.
Dude, Nevermore is such a good band to listen to if
still
you're trying
want
to
that
write heavy 7-string.
So,
fucking
They're
burnout.
so to
good
get
at
back
it.
to like real quick, when you were saying earlier how you get lost in theory and you can't write stuff
It's-
unless
yeah.
it does all these different
checks
things that,
boxes and
that
shit.
aligns by the stars somehow too.
Nostradamus would be proud.
The
yeah.
moon cycles in the
Dude.
right place or whatever.
Yeah, I'm realizing I never just play octave riffs.
And you know,
I love
me
octave
either.
riffs.
And here's so
And dude,
In
I'm-
the faggest way.
here's
oh my
here's
gosh,
the anecdotal
I'm sitting
evidence.
here trying to learn a riff by this band Spirit Box, and I
Oh,
go,
okay. Spirit Box is
it's
good.
all octaves.
so here's the
I
anecdotal
love it to death, and it's all octaves. Why
anecdotal
am I not
evidence
doing
as
it?
to why I'm wrong. I'm admitting this. Like in my perception, I'm wrong about this.
Sure.
I would never sit there to think and play octaves either.
Me either.
Right? Okay.
Me fucking
Our
either.
first single is all octaves.
I would almost
The
always
chamber
go to
is
a-
Chamber's all
the
octaves.
chamber's like 70% octave riffs, and I mean, I'm biased, but it fucking slams.
Yep.
It's not boring, and there's so much going on, and it's just octave.
I know what
riffs.
you mean. I almost always will gravitate towards a minor seventh if we're in a minor key, or a major seventh,
Dude,
or a major sixth.
That
if we're in
minor,
major.
that minor 3 major 7 shit. I love that. Oh, you put those two chords over each other.
But that's because the melodic content is simple and digestible. That's how it was written.
Oh no, yeah, no.
Because it's octaves, yeah.
That's why I know I'm wrong,
But-
because I
but
love
that's
playing
okay.
that song. It's great.
But that's what I'm saying, yeah.
There's-
It's octaves and the melodic content, right? So what I mean by that is like the verse riff. It's like digga-da-da-da-da, digga-da-da-da, right? It's that rhythm, right?
that's
There you go with a motif.
that.
I came up with that pattern, jigga-ja-ja-ja-ja, jigga-ja-ja-ja-ja, jigga-ja, and you just loop it. And then you just figure out what the tail has to be so that it can be in the context of 4/4 because that's going to be the most digestible time signature,
Yeah.
obviously. I was writing it to be digestible. And then the melodic content, you really only change the note a few times to impose the melody or the chord progression or whatever. It's very simple, but it imposes a certain feel.
Oh yeah, I love playing that song. It
Yeah.
it hits so hard, especially if
I
the
like playing that
silences.
song live too.
I gotta say, like, if anybody hasn't,
That's one of
seen-
my favorite moments live.
If anybody
on our
hasn't
sets.
seen us play live, or they have, and they kind of focus in on this moment, because we're all digital and we have all of this like stuff
Yep.
set up in a way that it's the stage that we play on. If you're not like a tech guy, is what we call a dead stage.
Yeah,
completely
there's no
silent.
stage sound.
We don't have cabinets or amps or anything loud blasting in our faces.
We're all on ears.
And we don't even have monitors, so we don't have speakers playing back into the stage at us. We just hear in our in-ears like these
Yeah, we
ones
have
that I'm
ears.
wearing.
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
And it allows us to do things where, you know, as long as you hold your mutes correctly, there's one part in that song before the last chorus where we hit this silence and you can almost hear
Yeah, go
like,
listen to
a
the fucking single.
pin drop.
If you somehow haven't heard Chamber and you're listening to our podcast, go listen to it. And after the guitar solo ends, we reprise the kind of big break, like pre-solo section in a varied way as a closer to that whole section of music leading back into the final chorus. And after that happens, it plays this like breakdown that's based on the verse riff. That breakdown section, when we play that live, is one of the tightest things we play in the whole set by design of how it was written and how it gets performed.
and the way that it stops,
And it wasn't
no doubt.
intentional. It just ended up that way.
that's such a like a shit-eating grin moment
We're
when we hit
always
that stop
cheesing.
and we all look at each other and we
always
go,
slam it, yep, and it's always locked. It's easy,
Hit that
and our
down
job
beat.
is so easy now because of all of the work we do behind the scenes to make it easy, like all the programming and all of the logic sessions and the click mapping and all that stuff.
I
all
gotta
that
say,
stuff that, again, to me, if you're a professional act in 2019, you're doing that stuff or you're not a professional act. You can say you are, but to me, you're not, because you're not doing every single thing you could do to make sure that what the crowd gets is best.
is
It's
the
like what
most
AJ was just saying about
seamless
how
show.
we're
Yeah.
dead stage. When we hit those dead silent parts,
It's
there's
silent.
no feedback on our amps on stage where someone goes, "Ugh, that's a horrible."
There's no
noise."
line level hum from an amp.
And there's
like,
never been a
nothing.
time. There's
Nothing.
never been a time, at least in the past
Yep.
year of all the shows we've done, we've always played Chamber because the crowd wants to hear it. It was our first single.
You'll hear everyone
Every
next to you
time we
holding their
play
breath.
it,
Yeah.
and we do that slam and we stop, and then we slam in all at the same time, every time you hear the crowd pop when we come back in. Always. If they don't react to anything else in the set, they pop for that.
That's the one thing.
Because they don't have to know about music and know that what we're doing is something tight and locked.
I'd
and it's
argue that
well-rehearsed.
the other...
It's just you feel it. It's sick.
I would argue one of the other big moments we have like that is in Deeper, the closer on the record.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you hit that end part.
When I hit the drum fill and it slams in
Holy
full for the first time.
shit.
Yeah. The song sets up for it. But you know what that is? Again, it's good writing.
Yeah.
It's,
I gotta say,
and not me being a good writer or anybody being a good writer. It's just we're thinking about that stuff. When we're writing our songs, they go through multiple stages, and the final stage is always the polish. And part of the polish is thinking about those things. Like the song we're writing right now, it's pretty close to being done. It's pretty close, you know? There's like a couple sections we're ironing out right now. But once we have all that ironed out, it's going to get an extra pass where we all listen to it and go, that drum fill should be different for one bar.
yeah.
And that riff, you should do this to accent this thing I did on the drums or vice versa. And it's the extra. I always look at it like this. It's something that Sterling Ball said in a video that was a tour of the Ernie Ball factory for guitars. He said what separates Ernie Ball Music Man guitars from the competition is the details. It's that their instruments get cut in half and thrown in the fucking recycling bin or whatever. If they're like the 100-something plus detail list they have is not every box checked. If one of them can't be checked because it's like, oh, this 1 inch of this one piece of wood is less than 10 out of 10. They go, cut the whole guitar in half now. And to me, that's how we write songs. And I feel like that's how we have to if we even want to try to be anything on the real market. You know what I mean?
I'm with that.
Is we have to be willing. It might take longer. It might be more stressful. It might be this or that. We have to be willing to go there every single time because that's what's going to set us apart and make us even remotely matter in the grand scheme of things worldwide. You know?
Speaking of Ernie Balls, let me hit you with my biggest pet peeve.
Such a fan of those guys
ever in the whole world.
Okay,
is when I go to a physical brick and mortar music store, and they sell anywhere from 10 to 40 SKUs of guitars over $2,000, and I pick up like a $3,500 limited edition, like one of however many Music Man basses, and the action is a fucking bow and arrow.
Yeah, and the setup is diarrhea.
And I'm like,
you just go, you sell high-end gear.
I feel like Ernie Ball would be embarrassed that
they would be embarrassed.
Bass
They
looks
would.
and feels like this. Are you fucking joking?
Yeah.
And it's not even just Guitar Center, and that's the thing that really hurts my feelings because, like, I expect them to kind of suck, you know?
Yeah.
Unless there's somebody like me that was obsessive.
Nobody expects to walk into any Guitar Center anywhere in the fucking world and pick up a guitar and go, this is set up correctly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't. That's for sure. But
yeah, but you're not. It doesn't matter.
But when I'm at like a boutique store and I pick up like the nicest Music Man they have, and I'm like, I can't even play it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it's
I don't
not
think I'm
the
being.
bass.
I don't think I'm being too
bass.
picky. I'm just like,
It's
come
set
on,
up terribly.
Come on, guys.
Yep. Thing is, you don't have to know good work to be able to sell good work because you're just a businessman.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's to be fair. I was having this conversation. We were at Jesus. I was at a show last night. To check out the CD release for my buddies in C-SPAN out of Albany. Shout out to them.
Yep.
C like
Those
ocean.
they're cool guys.
C-SPAN.
Not the news?
No, it's a play on that, but it's like proggy stuff. I think it's fucking cool. I filled in for them on one show. If you dive back far enough on Instagram, you'll see a picture. But I was talking to one of the guys in the band and a sound guy, and the guy in the band, I facilitated him joining the band, and we had both worked at the same Guitar Center, and we were just talking about the good old days of whatever the fuck happened there, and
yeah,
it's just, dude, there's so much. I don't know, just that businessman thing. But we were talking about this with the sound guy there, and we're like, I don't even set foot in there anymore if I don't have to. And I know people that work at my local Guitar Center that are great people, and I love them to pieces. And what they do, I respect, and I would send people to them. But thankfully, they're lesson teachers, so I would say absolutely go take lessons with Adrian or Brandon or whoever, But as far as going into them as a retail store, and they're supposed to be knowledgeable musicians, I'm just like, dude.
The amount of times I've gone to the Guitar Center in Syracuse and had to walk in or call beforehand and go, I'm looking for a crash cymbal. Sabian brand, only pro level stuff. Do you understand what that means? And they go,
I've got B8s.
I've got a 16-inch B8 crash, and I'm like, 18 or 19 only. Pro level means AAs, AAX, HH, HHX, or some of the high-end knockoffs or side stuff like Vaults and Artisans and stuff,
Hand-hammered, whatever.
If you have that stuff, that's pro models. Do you work in the drum section? Yeah. I'm like the drum section manager. Okay. But I have to tell you what the pro level Sabian series are.
I gotta say, okay, so you and I had this experience. I'm gonna go ahead and call these people out right now. Anybody that works at Guitar Center, you're pushed to get pro coverage attachments. That's
Yes.
at least when I was there, that was a huge part of the business plan, and it hasn't gone away as far as I know. I understand the upsell. I get it. I was good at it. Whatever. That's fine. If you work in drums and you have people like Dave and I that walk in with a wad of cash and say, I want this symbol that I see right there, and I want the pro coverage, and you don't have to sales pitch me, you better count your fucking blessings that there are people like Dave and I in this world that are giving you that small bump, because that shit's so hard to sell to people who are ignorant and don't understand that it's a free piece of gear.
First off, if you're a drummer and you're working and you're buying cymbals, you better go buy them at retail, full brand new price, whether you like it or not, from a Guitar Center, and then pay for pro coverage, because you just now insured it. And then in 2 years, if it's not cracked, go crack it on purpose and go, new cymbal for the cost. And they go, that's correct.
They're literally, you're buying a second.
Get a new one.
You're buying the veil, not the same thing. You're buying a gift card at that same value of what you just bought.
Correct.
For up to a third of the price.
Like on my main kit.
Unbeatable.
My main riding crash is an 18-inch Sabian AAX fast crash. Brilliant finish that I got from them.
And them bitches is thin.
But it has the correct sound that I need. So I still have another year for that thing to go before I have to turn it in. As far as I know.
To break it.
Before it has to be broken. One way or another.
Oh, it will be. Don't worry.
But it'll be broken by then. And then I'm going to go there, and I'm going to have the receipt, which we kept, and I'm going to have the broken cymbal, and they're going to exchange it not for that exact cymbal, but for whatever similar value Sabian high-end cymbal they have.
And they're going to look at you and ask you, did that break?
And
you're just going to look at him with the
yes.
same dead face you have now.
And that's where you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because at my local Guitar Center, the employees looked us in the face and said, if this doesn't break by like the day before your time runs out on your pro coverage, straight up take it outside and just take a hammer to it until it breaks and bring it in broken. And if you tell us, I broke it so I could get a new one for no money, we're going to go, very cool, here's a new one for no money.
That part might
that was said to me by an employee.
That part might be
face-to-face.
a slight exaggeration, but
That's them wanting you to pay for the coverage.
long story short,
That's
that is
correct.
Who cares, though?
only,
They sold it.
That is the only way to buy cymbals.
Yes.
The only way.
Cymbals.
Cymbals only.
Everything else, whatever. Cymbals only. I bought secondhand cymbals. When I was first getting my kit built up and I didn't quite have the funds put together to be able to drop all that money, but I did have money and I need to get a lot all at once to cover bases. I bought my cymbals secondhand through Guitar Center, through their used section, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Beaters. I got, but they're not beaters. That's the thing. I got really good, high-end everything for really, really below retail prices. Like, all my splashes are AAs and AAXs, and they're legit, and they weren't fucked up. They weren't cracked. My crashes are insured my Chinas are insured. My hi-hats and my ride, nope, they were secondhand. Well, no, I just got new hi-hats. Those are brand new. That doesn't count. But
Yeah.
my hi-hats I had for years.
Those are 15s, right?
My new hi-hats are amazing.
So big.
Yeah, they're the AAX
But what I was
15-inch thin hats, I think, something like that.
They're something like that.
They're
really
awesome.
fucking nice.
Best. They're like the hi-hat sound that I hear.
They
in my
translate
head.
well on mic. That's what matters. But
Yep.
oh, so what I was getting at with this whole thing is I was talking to those guys at the show, and we all realized collectively, kind of at the same time, and expressed to each other like, I don't buy shit off the rack anymore. If that makes sense. Like I wouldn't be able to
order online through Sweetwater.com
and maybe
only.
Well, that, but I'm just stuck up my own ass, or I'm really pretentious. But when I'm looking for something that's a higher dollar value item, I'm not just gonna go buy it at some retail store for the
Fuck
most
no.
part.
What
Like
the
if like
fuck?
a new bass, right?
Yeah.
If I want to get a new bass, it's not that I want the expensive one because I think that that's a status symbol. I want the expensive one from the brand that I trust because I know for a fact that somebody sat there and got those fret edges perfect.
Correct.
I know that maybe it's an Ernie Ball and they would saw it in half if it wasn't. Like
It's gonna be perfect.
That's
there's
because direct to consumer wasn't ever as possible as it is now.
right.
That's true.
And it's just a matter of like, and even on the used market, like, so the main bass I'm playing for this band now is an Ibanez Groove Line, and if anybody's familiar with those,
So nice.
they're the goofiest looking fucking things ever.
So
But
nice.
you know what's funny? I realized they're basically kind of like a Strandberg, but with a jazz bass bottom. Before Strandbergs came out,
Eh.
kinda. The ergonomic idea
The balance
behind it,
is unreal. It's unmatched.
I had to hunt that fucker down. I found the last one in the world at the time that I bought it. Literally, like, no exaggeration. Reverb, eBay, G-Bass, Talkbass Classifieds. I couldn't find a single fucking one of these things, which means people really love them when they bought them.
yeah. 'Cause
shocker.
They never went up for resale.
So I found one in the whole world in Australia. Shout out to Woolagang Music for sending that shit. Like, I had to pay and have this thing shipped from Australia, but guess what? I definitely don't regret it. Now, am I going to walk into a Guitar Center and find what originally was like a $3,000 bass on the wall and
No.
accept the condition that it's in and buy it at full price? Are you fucking joking? No.
No, the high end and just the
A, they're
high
not
end
going to have it,
instrument
and
trade.
B, it's not going to be in the condition it
is
needs to
way
be in for me to
different.
pay full price for it.
Well, you can take solace in the fact that Guitar Center is a dying company.
I'm waiting. And I feel bad about this, too, to be clear, because I have friends that still work there and run their own stores and stuff, and I'm going to be really upset if they don't get advanced warning.
Yeah.
But that company just needs to go away. Like, as a whole, in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, but there are so few things that
How
they
do you compete are
doing right.
in
Like,
the
they gotta
in the
stop.
whole world, unless you're Andertons in the UK? How do you try to convince yourself you're competing with Sweetwater?
There's no contest. You just can't.
They just are better, though. They have everything. They have the best setup for every scenario: purchasing options, insurance and coverage options.
Yeah.
Just name a feature you'd want from a music seller, and they have the best version of it. And then their customer service is unparalleled in any industry.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is, dude? And all of that. Specifically for me, because I've bought some higher end basses from them. I just got one. I just got that
I buy everything
that
from them.
SR
I bought this whole everything I have to
What is
record
it?
with, all my main kit. my
SR2405W, that new Ibanez I got, the
Yep.
premium or whatever. Like, you look at the exact instrument you're buying, not like the stock photo. And I mean, people who shop for instruments on Sweetwater know this, but it's mind-boggling to me that Guitar Center or Musician's Friend, which are the same company, by the way, if you didn't know, there's another one that's under their umbrella. Anyway,
Who cares?
or like Sam Ash or like Music 123 or Z Sounds. Like
Z Sounds is pretty good.
they're
too.
okay too, but all of these companies will just be like, here's a $7,000 guitar for like a Gibson or whatever.
A PRS private stock.
Here's a stock photo of that guitar. Are you fucking kidding? Are you fucking joking?
You can't show us a real picture.
Sweetwater goes, hey, did you want me to send you a demo of us playing that with gloves on our hands so you can see what it sounds like before you buy it? And you go, yeah, sure, that sounds great. And then you buy the nice guitar from them, and they set it up on top of the factory setup.
When I bought
Just can't compete with
when I bought my Music Man JP7 Mystic Dream, I bought it through Sweetwater, and the way I picked it was they emailed me. It was Ian. It was Ian Engel, my guy at Sweetwater. Shout out to Ian. He sent me fucking pictures of the guitar in my email. He went, here's every single shot in our photo booth that we took of this guitar. Is this the one? And I went, yes. But if it wasn't, he was going to go, we got to swap it then. Which one's the one? You have to get the one. You're paying $3,000. Which guitar is the one? That's the one we're mailing you.
And that's the difference.
And they just he had 4 JP7 Mystic Dream finish in stock. And it was going to be up to me which exact guitar physically was going to get sent to me.
And that's the thing too, because in our day jobs, we all work in, I would broadly consider it customer service in one way or another.
I definitely do, unfortunately.
Right? And even if you're the lowest level grunt and you have any form of conscious thought, you understand that the service is what brings people back. If people want to buy X product,
correct,
they'll buy it literally anywhere they can. That's the most convenient. So if I want to buy something if I want to buy kitty litter, I could go to the store, and if I'm already grocery shopping, I'll pay $2 more to buy it at the store because it's convenient.
Yes.
If I'm at home and I don't have to go to the grocery store, I'll buy it on Amazon and wait for it to show up.
This is a funny conversation.
That is, but if anything, it's a higher dollar value item, or it's something that you want to spend your money on, or it's something that you value more. You're gonna seek out the service to go with the item.
You brought up grocery stores and convenience stores and stuff, right? Me and Stace will say fuck convenience because we live in Oswego, and Walmart's shit, and then Price Chopper is also shit, and every option we have here is shit because this town is just objectively, whether you like it or not, shit. So when we go to get groceries, we go, man, we have to go to some dump piss hole in this shit town. Wrong. We're going to drive 30 minutes out of our way to go to Clay so we can go to the Wegmans because Wegmans is the best grocery store on planet Earth. So we go there instead, even though it's a lot less convenient. We're going to go there because everything about that place is better than everywhere else we've gone to get groceries. Like the people that are working, they are chill. They're not douchey. The products are top quality, right?
Wegmans brand is fucking incredible. For
Wegmans is incredible. Yep. So my point is with Sweetwater, even if it was less convenient, I'm gonna still go because their service is unmatched. And it's just to add more to the fact you're saying customer service, how you treat the customers, the experience they get when they work with you, when they have a transaction. It beats convenience.
It just has to.
It does. Dude, where I work, doing fucking paperwork at Burn Dairy, I see customers. There's customers in and out of the store all day. You know how many of them drive across the city to come to our place because they like the service they get from us?
Yeah.
You know? It just is what it is.
There's just something to be said for that.
And now, given I work at a Burn Dairy in Oswego, so most of our customer base is just homeless, vagabond alcoholics and lotto addicts that come in, and they come to our store because they think our lotto machine's lucky,
least it can't be
even though
worse.
luck's fake.
It's rigged. I just think there's a lot
rigged
to be said for that, as opposed the service versus convenience thing, especially when you're talking about higher ticket items or something that's so personal to you. Because you're gonna play.
Well, if I'm gonna spend $3,000 on a master crafted, once in a lifetime, extension of my body for the rest of my life instrument, I'm gonna go to whoever I know is gonna give me the most control over what I'm about to receive.
Exactly.
And Sweetwater does that. They go, now, these guitars have, this one is a JP7 Mystic Dream. It has a maple neck. But this one out of the 4, they randomly used bird's eye maple. What do you think? The look of it. And I went, bird's eye maple is the one. And they go, that's the one we'll send to you then. Every other company I've ever worked with, they're just going to go, put one in a fucking box and send it.
Yeah.
He'll get what he gets. All right. Well, I don't shop with you now because I spent $3,000 and I don't make the kind of money where $3,000 is spent lightly.
Yeah, for real. But yeah, I don't know. We were talking about talking to like people who say they don't like music earlier, like way back.
Yeah.
And it's just it's so funny because like we were talking about this last week just on our own about how like I don't have hobbies, man. I do.
God, you need to get hobbies.
Just music.
You gotta get hobbies.
Do.
Don't get it twisted. Spending a lot of time, energy, and work and effort and everything in music is really conducive with being successful in music. However, if you're in a rut or if you're in like having writer's block and you just keep trying to write for 10 hours after the writer's block hit and you knew it was over, you're only going to make yourself lose your mind.
Yeah.
What you need to do is when you realize you're not being productive anymore, cut it the fuck off, walk away, and go turn on Ace Ventura or some shit.
Hell yeah.
You know, that's what you got to do.
But we were talking.
You got to have hobbies, man. Other than the career choice you're making or the life work that you have.
And that's the thing. But I thought it was funny. We were talking to people who don't like understand or don't really follow the music stuff. And then like, I'm over here like, well, we can talk about bands we like as like a listener, or we can talk about what it's like to play music, like the technical facility of it, or we can talk about gear, or we can talk about programming a live show, or we can talk about, you know, whatever. I don't know. I think it's interesting. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's just so multifaceted, and I guess it's the same way
so much to the music
with
world.
anything you get into.
Yeah.
You know, if somebody's
of course, dude.
I like to go bow hunting. Like there's so many
tons to that.
things
Yeah,
in that one umbrella, but
all the gear, all the bows they use, and every year there's a new one.
I just find I'm really stuck.
I actually know a very
umbrella.
tiny about bow hunting, and it's only from Rogan podcast.
Of course,
but it's like he's a bow hunter, and you know, it's like Hoyt Bows comes out with a new bow that's the highest one, like highest end, and has a new feature or something. So if you didn't have that bow, well, now your bow is shit, and now you got to get the new bow.
Oh, you mean the computer industry? Every 5 months?
Yep. I mean, that's everything. That's consumerism, you know. This one's the new one, though, so you got to get it. Why?
Think about that shit, though.
Why?
Dude. Think about that shit. When we were born...
I just want what's best. That's it.
When we were born in roughly the late 80s, early 90s, cell phones existed, but, like...
Not really, though.
And now, like, I have a computer.
And now it's a part of your body, and it really is.
And it's like, people have pointed this out. It's not a new thought I'm bringing up. I'm reflecting, like, when I was a kid, I had, like, the flip phones and stuff. And that was so incredible to me.
My GoPro just died.
Oh, no.
Ah, that's funny. We're about 2 hours in. We're pretty close.
Solid.
And I have to piss like a very, very like nourished, not thirsty at all racehorse. So
let's do a deal here. The deal is we'll talk about whatever the fuck we want next time, and we'll call this one.
Sure. Yeah.
So
this was solid. This was tight. We talked about a lot of cool stuff that was music related.
I thought so. Let me try this. Let's see if this works. If not, it's gonna be just a logo.
Anytime we are able to dive into the behind the scenes of how our minds work and how our lives in music are detailed, I feel like that's cool. That's stuff that, you know, is unique to our
There are people out there
kind.
hungry for that.
Yeah, there's people that
Hope
go,
so.
I don't know shit about music. Well, we're working active musicians who've been doing this our whole life. So when we get into stuff that we take for granted, other people, other listeners might not. Or even better, we might get listeners that are musicians that are earlier into their journey than we are, and they're looking to us for answers. That's a big thing. I'm starting to get into teaching, and I'm starting to get into this weird position I find myself in where I'm getting a lot of traction with random buddies of mine that are musicians that are seeking information from me, because it's so hard to find information that is useful that you need. And I'm so happy that I'm in a position in my life right now where I have all this. I have my drum studio at home, and I'm able to have friends of mine that are musicians that have their own bands are paying me to come in and utilize my space and my equipment with their time and, some of my time to be able to help them to put pieces together they're not aware of yet. I have that. I'm setting that up now, and I'm going to be teaching people out of my studio, and I'm going to be helping other people start their journey in music and stuff. And it's just rewarding to be able to give that back, because I feel like we all had that at some point. It's so important. We talked about this last time, how there's like a lack of mentorship in music, but I don't know that that's fair, because I feel like there really is the opportunity for mentorship in music. You just have to find it. And I would feel really hypocritical if I held the view that I hold, that if you get somewhere in your journey as a musician and you withhold that information of how you got there or what you know about getting there from people that aren't there yet, that's scummy. It would be scummy of me. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I did the same thing and didn't do what I could and make it a priority to myself to help people when they reach out to me and they go, I really like what I'm seeing you doing. How? Because I'm not there yet.
For sure.
Help me.
For sure.
It's like I almost feel obligated to them. They deserve to know because they're trying to know.
Well, that goes back to...
It's never wasted. Why would it be wasted?
I think the first podcast we did, we were talking with Brad about just always trying to help out people who are interested in what you do, or helping bands with whatever. Or your
why would you not want to tell them,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, if you guys want to hear any of our thoughts or get help on anything, feel free to reach out on any
Always
platform.
reach out to literally any of us.
You can
any
message
DMs,
us.
whatever you got.
We're responsive to all of it.
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram.
Always.
We're around. You can reach us through the band.
And that's kind of what made it come up, was that I've been getting more messages, more traffic lately from random people, random friends of mine that are musicians, asking me questions about just a litany of ideas. Just, hey, what software do you use for drums when you demo? Or what kind of mic do you use for this? Blah, 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 blah. And I couldn't be happier to be prepared to give that. Like, to me, being able to answer those questions for you makes me feel fulfilled, because it's tangible evidence that my work is verified. Like, it's not for nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And that also ties into, reach out to us if you feel so inclined, or you want to know anything. Or
literally any questions about anything. You can always get a hold of us.
Somebody in the band will probably know something about it, maybe.
And somebody in our band is going to know something about everything, and whoever doesn't know is going to direct you to who does.
There's 6 of us. You'll get an answer.
Yeah.
You'll get an answer.
Also, beyond that, feel free to reach out to us about this podcast. I mean, up until now, at least for these 4 episodes, we literally sit down with no script and just talk. So if there's anything that you're listening and you want to know, or you have questions for us, you feel free to ask us or reach out, what have you.
Hit that subscribe button.
You can also email us, anabasismetal@gmail.com, and ask questions there if you're so inclined. But I think we're about wrapped today.
We're good, yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
So
very fun.
Gotta pimp my stuff. I have no idea if this camera angle works. So yeah, thanks for listening. Listen to our music if you haven't already, or continue to listen and show people that may enjoy it. Check out our merch if you're so inclined, and also our Patreon. And please, if you like this or anything else that you've seen us do, subscribe and like or comment on these videos. We really appreciate that.
For sure. Yeah. We love doing these. The podcast is so fucking fun.
It really is.
It's very therapeutic for me to be able to have long form, uninterrupted conversations with you guys. Like, you guys have been in my band. Like, we're all in a band together for a few years, but it's rare we get to sit down like this and have this kind of conversation with each other.
Usually all business, yeah.
It's very, very, very important.
And it's going to get more fun when we've got submissions and questions from you guys, too.
Oh, yeah,
for sure.
Yep, absolutely.
Okie dokie. Well, I think
we're good.
That covers it.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you
See
next
you in
time.
the manana.
Adios.
Oh, my body.
That was a good one. That was good. That was really